everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet my soft chains cowl. It's a super simple cowl with wonderful and gorgeous results. This cowl can be made using any kind of yarn and any kind of hook. You'll just need to remember to measure as you go. If you make it according to the pattern, you're going to get a cowl that's about 24 inches around and about 9 inches long. And it's super easy to adjust the length and the width. So it's totally versatile. Now you can find the pattern for this cowl on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So what you're going to need to make one of our soft chains cowl is some yarn. For today's demonstration, I'm going to be using Bernat Jacquards, and this color is called Gemstone. And I chose this particular yarn because I thought it had a little bit of a fall or warm color tone to the variegation. Now, you can use any worsted weight or medium weight number 4 yarn that you have on hand, and you'll need about 3 ounces. Today we're going to be stitching with our H hook, 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to be needing a nice big button, a button that's about 1.5 to 2 inches, and you'll need your needle and a pair of scissors. Now if you decide you would like to use a larger or smaller weight yarn, you can do that. Just make sure that you use the crochet hook that is recommended with that yarn. And also, you'll need to measure as you go, because if you use a smaller yarn, you're going to have, of course, smaller stitches. And if you use a thicker yarn, you're going to, of course, have thicker stitches. That's the beauty of this particular crochet pattern. You can use any yarn and any crochet hook and stitch up a beautiful soft chains cowl. It doesn't matter which yarn weight you've decided on and which crochet hook you've decided on, the cowl is stitched exactly the same. And I'm using my medium weight number 4 yarn and my H hook, as I previously stated. We're going to begin with a slip knot. And we're going to chain 4 chains. The first row of our cowl is stitched using the foundation double crochet or chainless double crochet stitches. And I like to use this when I'm making a cowl because it gives you a nice stretchy edge. Yarn over your hook, go in the 4th chain from the hook, and pull up a loop. Yarn over and only go through the first loop. So we've created our first chain. Now we're going to finish our double crochet. Yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the second 2 loops. That's how you stitch your foundation double crochet. Yarn over, go through that first chain that we created, pull up a loop, yarn over and just go through the first loop. Yarn over, go through the second 2 loops, yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. Now we've got 3 because our chain 3 counted as our first and we've stitched 2. We'll do this again just to make sure that you understand what I'm doing. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over and just go through the first loop. Yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over and go through the next 2. That's how you stitch your foundation double crochet or the chainless foundation double crochet. And like I said, I like to use this method when I'm making a cowl or something that I want the neck or the edge to have a stretchy edge. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through that first loop. Yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, and go through the next 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, in order to make your cowl bigger around, because we're going to be stitching in the round, you're going to need to repeat 7 stitches. For our pattern, we're going to be stitching 84 foundation double crochet stitches. And something that you can do to keep track of your stitches so that you don't have to keep counting them is use some stitch markers. And what I do is I stitch about 20 stitches and then I mark it with a stitch marker. And of course, this isn't 20 stitches. I just take my stitch marker and I stick it through that stitch. That way I don't have to keep recounting every time, because stitching 84 stitches is a lot of stitches. Alright, now if you do the pattern and do the 84 stitches, you're going to get a cowl that's approximately 24 inches around, and we're also going to be about 9 inches deep, but we'll talk more about that part later. So if you want your cowl to be longer around, and that's around your neck, than the 24 inches, you'll need to add in increments of 7 stitches. I'm going to be making it according to the pattern, and so I'm going to need 84 foundation double crochet stitches. I'm going to take my stitch marker out because I just showed you that so that you can see how you can mark your stitches. And I usually mark mine about every 20 stitches. Alright, so I'm going to stitch 84 foundation double crochet stitches for a 24 inches around cowl. And remember, if you want your cowl to be bigger around, you need to add in increments of 7 stitches. I've stitched my 84 foundation double crochet stitches, and you'll notice you get a nice stretchy edge. The other thing you'll notice is that I have stitch markers, and I put them in every 20 stitches so I don't have to keep counting. So I did 20, put the stitch marker in, 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 and then did 4 more stitches. Alright, and we can go ahead and take those out. It's just a really neat way to keep track of your stitches, and I do this when I just start with the chain as well, because I don't like to keep recounting all those stitches. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to join this in a circle, and we want to be careful not to twist our edge. And so I usually lay it out kind of flat on each other like this, and then I go to the top. We're going to join to the first chain 3, so 1, 2, 3 that we began with a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 1. Now you'll notice that you'll have an opening right here. Don't worry about that. When we're done, we'll come back in, use the tail of our yarn, and close that right up. Now we're going to begin our soft chains. We're going to place a single crochet right in that same stitch that we stitched our chain 1. We'll stitch a single crochet and chain 6. We're going to skip the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll stitch a single crochet in that 7th stitch. And this is the reason that when you're making your cowl longer around, you need to add stitches in increments of 7, because you need to have those 6 stitches plus the stitch that we stitch our single crochet in. Alright, let's repeat. Chain 6, skip 6, make sure you don't count the stitch that you single crocheted in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and single crochet in the 7th. Okay, and this is the way we'll repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Making sure because my hook jumped out of my yarn there. Skip 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and single crochet in the 7th stitch. And repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, single crochet in the 7th. There we go. And we'll repeat this working all the way around our cowl. Single crochet, chain 6, skip 6, single crochet in the 7th, and repeat, working all the way around our cowl. Once you've worked around your cowl, single crochet, skip 6, chain 6, single crochet, you should have 12 sets of the single crochet, chain 6, skip 6. All right, if you're doing the one according to the pattern that I'm doing. When you get back around, we're not going to join. What we're going to do, here's our last chain 6, skip 6. We're going to go to the single crochet we stitched in. And what we're going to do, rather than go through the top of our single crochet, we're going to go through what's called the eye of the single crochet, or the center. We're going to go down here, put our hook through, and stitch our single crochet. And so what we're doing is we're going to do continuous rows. We're not going to do join, chain 1, and keep going. We're just going to go and do continuous rows. All right, so let's go ahead and do our chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll go to our next single crochet, and we'll go right in that center and stitch our single crochet. That portion is called the eye of the single crochet, because rather than going through the top, you're going through the center. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now we're going to go to the next one. Right in the center of our single crochet and stitch a single crochet. All right, and we'll work our way around this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Single crochet in the eye, or the center of that single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And before we go on, I want you just to really look at it and see how it looks different than when we stitch in the top. All right, so let me go to this next one. If I were to stitch in the top of my single crochet, it would be up here. And it would look like that. All right, and I want a nice clean look to it. I want them all to be placed down in the center, and it makes your cowl look really nice. So we'll go right in that center, pull up a loop, yarn over, and stitch our single crochet. So again, we're stitching single crochets. We're just putting them in a little bit different place for just a little bit different look. All right, so here I did my chain 6, and I'm going to go right in the center of that next single crochet. We'll continue this on around. I've completed that second row of chains, which is my third row of stitching. What I'm going to do is continue on around. Here's my last single crochet and my chain 6. So I'm going to go right in that first single crochet of the next row and stitch a single crochet in the center and chain 6. And then we'll just continue on around. Single crochet in the single crochet, making sure you're going in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And see how that's beginning to look? Alright, so then we'll repeat that. Single crochet in the center of the single crochet, and then chain 6. And so what we're going to be doing is continuing this pattern of single crochet, chain 6, single crochet around, and so we'll be repeating for 21 rows or more if you want your cowl to be taller or longer. Super simple. Single crochet, chain 6, single crochet around, over and over and over again till it's the length that you want. If you're doing the pattern that is written, you're going to need to do this row, which is row 3, 21 more times, or more if you want your cowl to be longer. So we'll continue on around, stitching our chain 6, single crochet in the center of the single crochet, and chain 6. Again, repeat till it's the length you want, or if you're doing the pattern according to how it's written, you'll need to repeat for 21 more rows. I've completed my 21 repeat rows, and you should be at row 24 on your last row. Now, something I wanted to show you is I added my stitch marker right here, and that was just to remind me that on this row is where I began my next row. And that's something that you might want to do just to help you out. Instead of putting it on every row and moving it up, I put it on this one, and that tells me that this row is where I begin my next row. The other thing you might notice with your cowl is that it might have a slight lean. And that's okay. That's part of the way it's supposed to look. And I also want you to see how pretty these stitches look when we stitch that single crochet in the center or eye of the single crochet. And it just looks really, really pretty. So I've stitched my 24 rows. I went ahead and single crocheted in that first single crochet of the next row. And what we're going to do now is we're going to stitch a solid row of single crochets. So in this chain 6 space, we're going to go in and stitch 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we've stitched 6 single crochets in the chain 6 space. Then we'll go ahead and stitch that single crochet in the single crochet, still going in the eye of the stitch. And this is the way that row 25 is stitched. So we'll stitch 6 single crochets in the chain 6 space. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll stitch a single crochet in that single crochet, still going in the center or eye of the stitch. And we'll continue to repeat this, whoops, all the way around. 6 single crochets in the chain 6 space, and we're going around the chain, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and a single crochet in that single crochet, going in the eye or center of the stitch. We'll repeat this all the way around and join back to our first single crochet. I completed that row, 6 single crochets in the chain 6 space, and then single crochet in the single crochet. Here's my last 6. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go in that first single crochet of the previous row. I've already cut my yarn. I'm going to go to the back, pull that loop to the back, and tie that off. And we'll need to weave that in, and we'll do that in just a second. But what I want to show you is at the bottom here we have this opening. And I'm going to take my stitch marker out of there from where I marked my rows. I'm going to take my needle and thread that on, that tail of yarn onto my needle. We're going to turn it so that we're working on the inside of our cowl. We'll go in the top of that stitch from the opposite side, and then we'll just stitch a couple of whip stitches to hold that together. And take a look on the front, see if it's laying nice, which this one is, and we'll go ahead and just weave that in. Cut that off, and then I'll go ahead and weave this one in, and then I'll show you how to add the tie and the button. To make the tie for our cowl, we're going to begin with our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 40 chains. I like 40 for this size of cowl, but if you want your chain to hang longer, you can certainly crochet as many chains as you would like. But 40 works great for this cowl. Once you have your chain as long as you would like it, we're going to go ahead and cut. We'll tie that off, and we'll put a knot in the end of each end. And now I'll do the other side. And I like to try to get that knot right on the end of the chain. So that's going to hold nice and tight. So the next thing we're going to do is attach our button. I've already put a piece of matching yarn about 12 inches long on my needle, and we're going to sew this on the 13th row. And we want to make sure we put it on a single crochet so it holds nice and tight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And you can see that's just about center. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to take my needle and thread, or my needle and yarn, and go around that stitch. That way I know that my yarn's secure. I'm going to put that to the back. That's our tail, and we'll need that later. And then I'll take my nice big chunky wooden button, which I adore this button. I have a thing lately for wooden buttons. Alright, so now I'm going to go through the stitches, and I'm going to go up some. And this is sort of decorative, but it is going to be holding the tie on. So I do want to make sure that's on there nice and secure. There we go. Making sure I'm going through those single crochet stitches because the chains won't hold it in place. You've got to go on that row of the single crochet stitches. Alright, so I'm going to come to the back. I'm going to take the tail and the beginning yarn. Tie some good sturdy knots. I'm going to go ahead and do that little knot I like to do. Alright, now, I always tell people this. If you want there to be a little dab of glue, you can use fabric glue or fray check. Alright, let's attach our tie to the button. What we're going to do is we're going to go underneath the cowl, sort of scrunch up the cowl, and we're going to go around this way and then around this way, and we'll give it a little bit of a pull, and that's going to bring that in. See our scarf coming in, or our cowl coming in? Alright, and then we'll just, I want to make sure, there we go. We'll just tie that and let that hang. And I like it when they're uneven, the strings. And if you want to, you can add a second, not separate, I guess it is separate, knot, and then they'll hang down nice. Isn't that beautiful? And that's how you make the super easy yet beautiful soft chains